So learning the koto in a very rigorously formal setting of a Japanese school, which anybody I could think can probably have a pretty good image of. It's rather like being a member of a strict sort of martial arts group or something like that, and there's very, very well-defined etiquette. So I was lucky enough occasionally to have lessons with the founder of the school, who was a man called Sawai who he was truly the guy who sort of changed modern koto. He was really something, and I had a couple of lessons with him, and he used to give lessons in an apartment which we used to travel to, and he used to be sitting on the tatami, kneeling in the seiza position with his koto on the floor in front of him, which is the traditional way, just on a slightly raised stand. And he was a small guy, as many older Japanese people are, and because I'm quite tall, I when you enter the room, I wasn't allowed to. My head was not allowed to be above the level of his head, so I had to kind of crawl into the room, and literally, sort of on my not just hands and knees, but pretty much slide into the room on my belly, so as not to be taller than him, and that was an experience. And we used to do these big, kind of like school shows, and then afterwards there'd be a big party, and where everybody would eat and drink, and then after that a few people would go on to a karaoke bar, and Sawai Sensei loved karaoke. He absolutely adored it, but he couldn't speak a word of English. And so listening to this absolute master of this instrument singing along to Beatles songs and mangling the language beyond anything was just hysterical. So one of the things that rather tickles me about living here in the Hudson Valley and being a British koto player is that David Bowie lived above the Ashokan Reservoir. What many people do not know is that on the B-side of his Heroes album, there is a piece of music which he co-composed or co-created with Brian Eno called Moss Garden. Which has Eno doing his usual thing on synthesizers and David Bowie playing the koto. So I like to think that when he sadly, tragically passed on, there was an opening in the Hudson Valley for a male British koto player, which I have obviously stepped into. And not many people can say this, but I'm a much better koto player than David Bowie. Yeah.